All right, here we go. Another episode of Kanata on the Rocks. I am your host, Fadi Kuder, local realtor with Sun Group Ottawa. And today we have one of my really good friends, Ahmed Farghal, the Director of Quality Assurance, Regulatory Affairs, and Compliance. A mouthful.
It is.
And the organization you work at is
Realize Medical.
Realize Medical. What is Realize Medical?
So Realize Medical is the brainchild of two medical physicists at the Ottawa Hospital.
The brainchild. I love that.
Yes, it is actually because, they're very tech-savvy people. They were basically looking for how can we use virtual reality, not just as a viewer, but as an entire platform medical application, right? And that was really the story behind how Realize Medical came to be.
It sounds really cool. And it's something that sounds like it's out of the movie.
It is very cool, actually. I'll say it's probably one of the coolest products I've ever worked on.
Yeah.
In my career. So basically, product is a software, and it's called a software as a medical device.
Mm-hmm.
So the software itself is considered a medical device, which is, it's a highly regulated tool that is used in medical practice. And what it does is it takes your conventional medical images like CT scans, MRIs, which are generally presented in 2D, and it takes that file, that's the output of the medical image, processes the file into a 3D model a clinician can actually use to, diagnose, to plan surgeries, and what have you.
Yeah.
Right? And all this is done and viewed in a VR headset.
Wow. So it definitely, it sounds like something from the movie for sure.
It is.
So what is it, what's the main usage for those medical devices, technically?
So this specific type of medical device is generally used for surgical planning, right? And the need comes from, the want of more kind of detailed view of the anatomy, right? Medicine in general and, medical imaging provides you with 2D displays on a screen, right? And that gives you a level of detail, but, what if you can get even more detail? What if you can look around corners, right? What if you also have a platform that allows you to collaborate in 3D in a VR environment with other physicians? You can plan surgeries better, your patient outcomes are better, hospital stays are reduced.
I would also beg to say that probably that the patients feel a lot better when they're able to see what it looks like and just kind of at least digest the information that's thrown at them.
Absolutely.
I'll give you an example. When I'm going in for a surgery, I went for a nose surgery a while back, and I know how nerve-wracking it was. It's a small little surgery, it's not much. But just being able to kind of have the doctor talk me into it is one thing. If I'm able to see it, I think it might have put my mind a lot at ease to just know exactly what they're looking for.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It definitely helps put the patient's mind at ease. Kind of makes that really sort of nerve-wracking, daunting medical explanation that you get before you go for a procedure or for your diagnosis, kind of humanizes it a little bit, right? Because you have a little model that you can use to explain to the patients. So definitely helps.
For sure. And we, as people, we have this tendency to they see, a lot of people seeing is believing, bro, right? It's just being able to see something, it literally just kind of brings you down, puts your mind at ease. Even, I'm going to go a little bit ominous in here, but even as bad as someone that just passed away and you kind of see them for the last little bit, you feel a little bit better at least. So I just want to dig into a little bit more about your role. It is a mouthful. Compliance. Let's start with backwards. We're gonna go with compliance first. What does that entail in your role? What do you guys do towards that?
So the medical device industry is highly regulated. So there's rules and regulations that you have to comply with depending on the jurisdiction that you're selling. You can't just go ahead and sell anywhere without having the proper authorization to sell. And in order to get that, you have to abide by a certain set of rules and regulations in terms of different things in our world, because we're a software, cybersecurity, how you create the code, how you store
Where's
the code,
that
how
data
you manage
sitting?
the code. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. So the compliance part is more kind of, I guess, the holistic term that is used to describe the overall compliance of the product with the regulations from not just health authority regulations, but also from other things in our world, like cybersecurity and what have you, and things like that.
And I'm not sure if that's something that you guys are doing or something that you do in that kind of practice. A lot of organization, when it comes to software, specifically around medical software, they do it in a way where it's in a sandbox kind of environment, right? Where there's no access to internet, there's no access to outside of the network kind of thing. Is that something that's kind of along the same lines, or?
So right now, yes, but the product is definitely evolving. The company is still considered a startup. Product will definitely evolve into beyond just that sandbox environment.
Mhm. And let's dig into a little bit more about the regulatory affairs. So, what does that entail? Because I mean, compliance is one thing. We know what compliance are. Trying to be able to kind of follow certain rules. But regulatory affairs, that seems to be a little bit more of an umbrella. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So regulatory affairs is actually the more specific side of compliance that has to do with, the medical regulations. Regulatory affairs professional understands the regulations of, let's say, Health Canada if they want to sell in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And the regulations don't just apply to how you make the product. It applies to how you monitor the product in the market. So a regulatory affairs professional is aware of all these regulations, is the one who will actually put together packages that get sent to the different health authorities around the world in order to get authorization from them to sell the product in that jurisdiction. They're also, really responsible for creating, all sorts of reports that happen after the product is in the market. They're also responsible for, dealing with the health authorities around the world. They're the first point of contact.
Okay. So I want to talk a little bit more about, you said earlier, it's the brainchild of two surgeons at the Ottawa Hospital.
They're radiologists.
Tell me a little bit more about how it started. Where did this idea come from? How it started? Why did they decide to launch a company?
So again, they're very tech-savvy people, and they were tinkering around with the idea of, you have a VR headset, and generally VR headsets are used as like a display, a mode of display. So how can you take that beyond just being a display model? How can you take that as terms of like, a 3D viewer that creates a workflow for a surgeon or a clinician in order to be able to use it to, better understand the anatomy that they're looking at, plan surgeries, etc. So they tinkered with the idea a little bit, and then they were advised to start a company. And that's basically how it started. The idea was, very interesting to a lot of the other clinicians at the Ottawa Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And they told them, hey, this should be a company, and this product could go places. And that's really where it started.
So when you say startup, where you guys are at in that journey?
Right now we have our product Illusys, which is the software as a medical device that I told you about. We're cleared to sell in the United States since 2023. The product has gained a lot of traction there. And right now we're basically working on expanding our, reach worldwide. And the company is growing, so there's definitely a lot more to come. The product is evolving quite a bit. It's gaining a lot of traction with, different hospitals and clinics in the States in terms of clinical use, and in the rest of the world from a research perspective. Mm-hmm. So there is a lot of medical research that's being conducted using the product as well.
And what are the plans? Like obviously this is something that's like, for me, it sounds like it's a little bit earth shattering, right? Like we want to be able to see what's in our bodies. We want to be able to see how things are evolving and how we can fix them. What's the plan? Like where are you guys heading? What's the vision?
So the vision is to have this product being sold worldwide to clinicians. And, the product is actually pretty cool in the sense that it works with a lot of the commercially available VR headsets. So it's not hard to access for an institution. So this is kind of where I come in, and my role is to open up more jurisdictions for them to sell, increase our market share within different jurisdictions in the world. As the product evolves, more applications as well, keeping it compliant with the regulations, always monitoring how the product is doing on the market.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot to come in terms of where it's heading. And I think the first thing is obviously we want to be able to sell in more places. And this is one of the things that I'm working on right now.
Oh, for sure. And then the more sales, obviously, the more you have from a production standpoint, and being able to kind of spend a lot more in R&D and all of that stuff. Where do you see like the best sort of application for this product for you guys in terms of patients and in terms of doctors?
So our main clients are generally surgeons and clinicians, right? So this is the intended user of the product. And this is really where the product shines, because it allows them to, have a better understanding of what they're looking at in terms of medical images. Mm-hmm. Because Surgeries usually involve this medical imaging piece, and then that medical image is analyzed or evaluated by the specialists before the surgery happens. And our intended users want more detail, want to be able to understand more of what they're seeing. And that's really where the main application is.
Obviously, like you're not going inside the body to be able to get all that. It's all from, using, like I said, MRI, imaging, all of that stuff. How nice and clean are those photos? Or I guess when I'm putting on the headset, what does that look like?
So you basically get a 3D model. It's, very accurate, it's to scale. And just to explain to you what the output is, the input is a file that is 2D slices. So if you are to take an MRI, let's say of the chest cavity, what you get is a stack of 2D images, and traditionally the person looking at them would be scrolling up and down just to see the area that they're interested in, and then they'll focus in on that.
Mm-hmm.
But then the software transforms that into a full 3D image that you can literally, in a VR environment, rotate. You can walk around it, right? You can really delve into it. You can go in the internals of what you're seeing. That's the kind of output that you get. So it's pretty cool, actually, like some of the things that you're able to get out of that model. And the models are, very clean looking, they're accurate, they're to scale, and you can actually make medical decisions, with the help of that image that you're seeing.
And how receptive did you find, like when you guys go in a market, obviously you've been going to market since 2023, you said, with in the States. How receptive have you found the industry, like the health professionals?
Oh, very, very. Because what exists right now that's similar to this is 3D printing. Obviously, that takes a lot of expensive equipment. It takes a lot of space within a facility. You have to use materials that could be, dangerous, toxic, all the stuff that goes into 3D printing. So there was definitely a huge interest in the product because, first of all, it saves space, it saves time because 3D printing takes time as well.
Mm-hmm.
Saves space, saves time. It's very accessible in terms of all you need is just a laptop and a commercially available VR headset.
How intensive is the software itself, like from a footprint standpoint, in terms of the usage on the laptop or the servers or what have you?
It's not really very intensive if you have the right laptop. Just to put it into more, I guess, consumer perspective, a gaming laptop with a good enough graphics card will run the software perfectly.
It's really cool. What's the next step for you guys in terms of like growth? Obviously, opening up more market is definitely something that you have on the agenda. But what does that look like, the rollout, if you don't mind me asking?
So ideally, we're a Canadian company, so we've targeted the biggest market, which is the U.S. The U.S. is always the biggest.
It's always the case when it comes to software. It's if you don't target the U.S. first, you're definitely shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. We're not also looking at it from the perspective of software. We're looking at it from the perspective of the healthcare industry in general. The U.S. is the biggest market, so that was our first target. We're a Canadian company, so we obviously want to make this product available to Canadians. That will be, the next thing that we're planning on doing. And then, we have other markets that we can explore. The EU is another big one. The UK now, since they've, Brexited, if you want to call it that. The Middle East market is huge. Asia, very huge. Brazil, Australia, New Zealand. So there's a lot of avenues that we can take, but at this point, we really want to make this product, as a Canadian company, we want to make this product available to Canadians.
How long has it been in production? Like, I guess not production. How long have you guys been actually out there selling the product?
So the product has been authorized for sale in the States since 2023. So you have to keep in mind as well, you can sell the product for clinical purposes.
Mm-hmm.
The company was started in 2019. So we have been, providing the product to clinicians to use in a research setting.
Yeah.
But in order for them to be able to use it in an actual clinical setting where it, drives surgical planning or supports diagnosis and surgical planning, that started in 2023 in the States when we got the authorization.
Of course, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we're talking about people's health, right? That has to start somewhere in order, like in an incubator sort of environment, if you will, to test it out, to make sure that it's really just robust. This is something that we're going to rely on. Here's what it looks like going forward. The last thing you want to do is just kind of regress, go back to, 2D imaging and what have you. This sounds like a really, really cool idea. Like, I'd love to see what the product looks like in action. Is there something that we can do, like, for example, go on a website or something like that to see what that looks like? Or is that
Yes, you can check out our website, realizemed.ca or .com rather. We also have a YouTube channel that you can check out. There's lots of videos that show, what the product looks like in terms of the images that you see, and what you can do with it. Actually, there's a lot that you can do with these images other than just viewing. Right? The product is packed with a lot of very cool features that help clinicians. So check the website, check our socials. We're on LinkedIn as well. There's tons of material that you can look at.
now? That's obviously like the application for this product is mostly going to be for surgical and what have you. Is there like, do you think this product might make it into, for example, medical prevention?
In what sense?
In the sense of like, hey, I'm not really sure, something is kind of a little off, and I want to do a little bit of a 2D, 3D imaging kind of thing, and just kind of go check it out, like more diagnostic than real. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, of course, and I mean that's part of the surgical planning is a diagnosis, right? So there's definitely a use there. However, the most valuable use comes in surgical planning because that actually has a profound effect on the patient and the patient outcomes, right? When you have more information about what the condition of the patient is, you're able to plan surgeries very, very effectively. That really allows the patient to, have the most minimally invasive surgery possible for the condition that they're suffering. It, improves their outcomes in the sense that it reduces hospital stays, reduces blood loss, right? Sometimes you need to go and get what's known as fluoroscopic imaging, for example. That puts a large, load on your body in terms of the radiation that you have to take. So if you can make do without that, that's better for the patient. So there's lots that you can achieve with the product, from a diagnosis perspective as well as a surgical planning perspective. But where it really shines is the surgical planning. Doesn't mean that you can't use it to diagnose something. However, the real, I guess, the real value of the product comes up when you improve patients' outcomes after something like surgery, because it's very invasive.
so really appreciate you making the time, and definitely going to be tracking your growth as a company, tracking you as a friend as well too, as always. So thank you so much, Ahmed, for being on the show. Love it. For folks that are watching, if you like what you see, please don't forget to hit the like button. Obviously, there's more and more episodes coming. We've been doing this now for a bit over a year, and we're not about to stop. This is going to be something that we're definitely going to bring a ton of businesses here on the show. There's thousands and thousands of businesses in the city, and it's going to take me years and years and years to bring them all on board. If you know anybody in the city that has a good business, a good idea, love for you to kind of comment and let us know that we can bring them on the show. I will personally reach out to them and talk to them, bring them on the show. And for more episodes like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe and that little bell icon so you can get a little bit of an alert to know a little bit more about those episodes when they come in. Thanks again. Appreciate it.